No one in the United Nations expected this. A calm, confident Filipino diplomat walked up to the podium, and within minutes, the entire assembly hall fell silent. His words, piercing, fearless, and filled with truth, would echo across the world and challenge everything the global powers thought they knew about the Philippines. But who was this man? What did he say that made world leaders sit up, listen, and even applaud in disbelief? Today, we uncover the shocking UN speech from a Filipino speaker that changed everything. Stay with me till the end, because what he said might just change the way you see the Philippines forever. It was a time of global tension, powerful nations debating the rights of smaller countries, economic control, and the growing cries for equality. And amidst this storm, a Filipino representative, young, brilliant, and unshaken, took the stage not as a subordinate voice, but as a challenger to the world's biggest powers. He began not with flattery, but with truth. He said, "We have listened long enough. It is time the world listens to us." Gasps filled the room. This was not another polite diplomatic speech. This was a declaration that the Philippines and nations like it would no longer be spoken for, but would speak for themselves. The speaker was none other than Carlos P. Romulo, the legendary Filipino diplomat, journalist, and soldier. He wasn't just a representative. He was a witness to war, a voice of peace, and a champion of the developing world. Romulo had seen how small nations were often ignored in global decisions, treated as pawns in a game of the powerful. So when he stood before the UN General Assembly, he wasn't just reading a speech. He was carrying the weight of millions of Filipinos and the hopes of every small nation seeking dignity. He spoke of colonial scars, of how the Philippines had endured invasion, occupation, and corruption, yet still stood tall. He said, "We are not weak people. We are survivors. We are the future voices of a free world." His words turned the hall into a battlefield of ideas. He exposed the hypocrisy of the global powers, nations that spoke of democracy while holding economic chains around the necks of smaller countries. He asked one question that silenced the room. What good is independence if the hands that freed us still hold the strings? For a moment, no one spoke. Then came something rare in UN history, a standing ovation that began with representatives from newly independent nations. It spread, one delegate at a time, until even the skeptics rose to their feet. That day, the world didn't just hear a Filipino voice, they heard the cry of every nation that had ever been underestimated. Romulo's words would go on to reshape the image of the Philippines on the global stage. He later became the president of the UN General Assembly, the first Asian to ever hold that position, a powerful sign that small nations could lead, not just follow. His speech inspired generations of diplomats across Asia and Africa to speak up, to demand fairness, and to fight for a global order built on respect, not dominance. Decades later, his words still resonate. In a world where smaller nations still struggle for equality, Romulo's voice remains a reminder that truth, when spoken boldly, can shake empires. The United Nations never expected a Filipino to change the tone of its history. But Carlos P. Romulo did just that, armed with nothing but his courage and conviction. He proved that real power doesn't come from wealth or weapons. It comes from the truth, spoken at the right time by someone brave enough to speak it. So the next time you hear someone underestimate the Philippines, remember the man who stood before the world unshaken and made history. Because sometimes the smallest nations deliver the loudest truths. If you found this story inspiring, hit that like button, subscribe for more hidden moments from world history, and tell us, what other powerful historical speeches should we uncover next?